Now, remember how we told you that in the United Kingdom, the voting age is being lowered from 18 to 16, a reform that kicks in before the 2029 general election. It's a move sparking global debate. Should teenagers really be trusted with the ballot? Are they informed? Are they responsible enough to shape their nation's future? Or would such a shift expose democracy to immaturity and manipulation? Now, for Africa, the question cuts even deeper. With over 60% of the population under 25, many young people feel excluded from politics, sidelined from decision-making, and ignored in governance. So could lowering the voting age close that gap or simply create new challenges for fragile democracies? And let me remind you that this is a continent where they always ring it in your ears. You're not too young to rule. But when it comes time to be a part of decision making and be in the room where decisions are made, especially decisions that affect the younger generation, they're conveniently absent. So this is a very pivotal conversation that we're having here today. This is Fafanua Afrika, the show where we spotlight the youths, their challenges, their opportunities, and everything in between. My name is Blessings Musugu, and I will be your host for today. Trust me, it's a packed show and it's a packed studio, and you don't want to miss that. So grab a cup of coffee, sit tight, and it's about to be a very insightful conversation. So it's a long-lasting conversation. People are asking. I mean, the young people are not too young to be ruled, but somehow, are they too young to rule? Today, we unpack the risks, the opportunities, and the cultural realities of lowering the voting age to 16 in Africa. Could this reform unlock a new wave of youth-led democracy, or would it open the door to populism and elite manipulation? These are the questions we'll be asking today. And like I said, it's a packed studio and it's a packed session. And it's not about to be a monologue. So I'll be introducing my guests. Notice how I put a lot of S in there because we have a lot of amazing guests joining us to have this conversation today. So first, in no particular order, I'd like to welcome Tova Oluwa Busayomi, an entrepreneur. So please just wave if that's you. So welcome. Also, would like to welcome Franklin Ndubisi, a social director as well. Franklin is also with us in the studio. Please wave if that's you. You're very much welcome. We also have Temilade Alonge, a digital creator, Layo, the powerhouse. Welcome, Temilade. Thank you for joining us. We also have with us Rukayat Olasukomi, a student of University of Lagos. You're very welcome, Rukayat. We have Inyu Sarah Adeola, a student of Unilag as well. We're glad to have you join us, Sarah. We have Bakari Blessing, who's also a student of Unilag. You're welcome, Blessing. We have Peace Oladapo, a student journalist, joining us in the studio as well. You're welcome, Peace. We also have DK Gift, a sociologist. You're welcome, Gift. We have Valeria Jessica, who's also a student. You're very welcome. And we have Samuel Steving, state coordinator, Not Too Young to Rule, Edo State Chapter. You're welcome, Steving. I want to believe that's you. Okay. All right. And also joining us online, I don't know if we have him yet, but we have Kennedy Ahanotu, National Youth Leader, Labour Party. Okay. Thank you for joining us, Kennedy.
Thank you, Blessing. Good afternoon, all of you in the studio.
All right. Very quickly, we'll go straight to the conversation, and I'll just be picking names at random and have them answer the questions. Or better still, we can just go accordingly to make it more organized. So we'll start with you since you're holding the mic. I want to ask a very generic question, and this is a question that has been, it's been the topic of, would I say, controversy or debate, especially since we started talking about whether or not 16-year-olds should be allowed to vote. Do you believe that 16-year-olds, especially in Africa, are too young to vote? Okay, so would you say that, okay, let me ask the next question, the next person. Please put it on from under the microphone. Just, yeah. So the next question to you would be, do you think that political maturity is about age or it's more about experience and education?
So let's say if a child is well educated and, you know, gaining experience from people that, let's say, has experienced different type of eras in Nigerian history, you know, they'll have more ideas than someone who is an adult and not also educated. They'll make better decisions than them, trust me.
Okay. All right, let me ask the next person the question. Kindly help me check if the microphone is on. If it's not, there's a button just underneath. Let me help you with that. Okay, so just in case you're just joining us, okay, is it on? Okay. In case you're joining us, we're talking about whether or not 16-year-olds are too young to rule. So let me ask you a question. Now, there's a debate where people say that, especially in Africa, they tell us, oh, the young people are not too young to rule. But then when it comes time to make decisions, especially, being a part of the voting process, they just suddenly say that we're too young. And many people would attribute that to the fact that young people of this generation seem a lot more distracted by social media, by, everybody wants to jack by, everybody wants to blow, we're not really ingrained, understanding the Constitution and how things work. Would you say that's true?
Yes, I think that's true. And I really agree with them because I have a sister of that age too, and she's really not interested. And there are a lot of people like her who are in that same caliber. They're just all about, maybe TikTok and all that. I think we don't have proper measures to, educate these people about what they're supposed to know at that point in time. So I don't think it's a good idea to actually let them vote now.
Okay, so you don't mind younger people not voting yet because you feel like they're not at the age yet. Okay. Let me ask the next question. The next person. Still talking about distractions, youth distractions. Would you say that the youths are somewhat not interested in political affairs because of what's happening, or would you say that what's happening has led them to not be interested? Like, are they not interested because of what they're facing, or it's just their nature to not be interested? All right, many thanks for staying with us. Sincere apologies for the slight technical glitch. But if you're just joining us, we're talking about whether or not 16-year-olds are fit to vote. So we're asking, should Africa follow the pattern of the UK that is seriously considering allowing 16-year-olds to vote? Because again, we're basing this argument on, they keep saying that, African youths are not too young to rule. So if they're not too young to rule, why then are they too young to vote? And I have my amazing guests who we introduced earlier on. So we'll just go straight to the questions. My first question is whether or not you believe that 16-year-olds in Africa have enough 16-year-olds in Africa basically should be allowed to vote.
Yes, they should be allowed to vote because I feel like they have everything that is necessary to guide them. They have the knowledge because, for example, they are in school, maybe in secondary school, maybe not all, but on a scale of 100, I would say like 70% of them are still in secondary school. So they have the basic knowledge, like maybe schools nowadays, they are now offering civic education, government in SS classes. So they have that knowledge that it takes to know their rights as a Nigerian or as a citizen of any country so they can vote. So allowing them to vote is not something that we should, just allow it to slide away because they are also taking responsibilities of adults here. They are now doing things that adults also do. So I don't think it's too much for them to vote here.
All right, thank you. So next person, I was trying to find out whether you think political maturity is just about age or it's also about exposure and education.
So political awareness basically is about experience. Experience is a great teacher, and also being educated, because if we dive down to the old age brackets, you see that even the adults, the uneducated one, have issues making political decisions. And then it's easy for bribery and so many other, inappropriate things. But for young adults that are educated, for example me, I'm studying political science, and I can bet that I have more political, I will not say experience, knowledge about the foundation of our culture and our heritage. So if we dive down to saying the experience and, being an adult, experience is better. Having experience and being educated about political affairs is better than just being an adult that just want to vote, basically.
Okay, thank you for that. So you have a very interesting angle, and I was asking you about young people being distracted. There's also that debate about young people getting carried away by what's trending, social media. Everybody wants to become an influencer, and because of that, they're not really focused on political issues, like she said. I want you to share your thoughts because your angle is interesting.
Yeah, so I said would agree that they do not vote now, because I think they would be prone to, coercion, and they would also be, it's a facade. Just thinking about it, you saying that 16-year-olds should be able to vote. I don't think so, because I have a junior sister of that age range, and I see how they behave. They are not interested in politics. And since there's no measure for them to be educated about this, they are not interested. But if we have those measures in place, probably they would. Yes.
All right, thank you. So talking about interest in politics and the distraction, I was trying to find out whether or not it's what is happening, the fact that they have been sidelined for too long, that is making the youth now, interested in something else, focusing more on social media, or it's just their nature.
Okay, in the aspect of being sidelined, I don't personally believe they've been sidelined, because right from your elementary school up to your universities, you've been given the opportunity to partake in political activities like maybe your class captain, the governor of your classroom, the school president, and what have you. So I personally feel if they take up leadership roles from that age and grow, they would have experience along the line. But most of them are not interested. And just allowing a 16-year-old to enter the ballot, it's not only making them grow faster than their age, it's also like exposing them too early, because many of them are not interested and many of them are not grounded. So I personally feel that 16-year-olds should first of all be interested in other political activities of their age that is around them, and actually experience what it's like to lead, instead of coming out and saying they want to vote, meanwhile they have no clue on what they are doing.
Okay, all right, thank you. So I want to ask, in line with, whether or not 16-year-olds are properly grounded just yet, and then I want to also infuse what she mentioned about knowledge of political history. Do you think that, because, I see a lot of movies, right? We've seen movies where a disaster happens and a 10-year-old takes up responsibility and takes care of maybe his 2-year-old younger brother because he doesn't have a choice. So are we saying, this is the same country where at some point, in history, we had 22, 23, 25-year-olds fighting for democracy, fighting for the rights of the citizens of the country. So are we saying that 16-year-olds are actually not old enough, or are we saying they have not been exposed enough? Because, there's a country right now where the Gen Zs are saying, we're tired, right? We don't want this, but we want a change in power, and the government is listening to them. So what is your opinion on that?
So in a society whereby we are boxed in the ideology that the children are the leaders of tomorrow, instead of letting them know that they are the stakeholders of now. So that ideology itself is infused in these children, and they assume that, okay, just to eat, go to school, sleep, we don't really have much responsibilities. So I feel like if they are grounded in a good civic education, with a good civic education, they will know how much responsibility they are carrying politically. So they can, at least share the attention they invest in social media. They can also, invest it in this politics thing. Because to be very honest, when I was way little than this, my daddy is very, very, he listens to news every day, in the morning. So when I'm going to school and I'm dressing up, I also listen one way or the other, the radio, yeah. So I know what has been happening. This APC, PDP, and everything, my dad makes me know this, that. I'm a political science student. So I enjoy my course because I've known this thing right from when I was in primary school. So I feel like if there is a solid civic education for these children, not just civic education to primary 5, even science students in university, they don't even know anything going on because they are not doing anything about science, arts, or history. I feel like this history of everything should be infused everywhere so that we can wake up. Yeah, because I actually concur with the topic. They have the right to vote too, because most of the laws and decisions that have been taken over there affect these children. So because, we take the higher percentage of the population. So I feel like we should be able to do something too. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's talk about the school curriculum. She talked about the fact that from a young age, she was able to follow the news, know what's happening and all. Do you think that the education sector is somewhat to blame? Because if all of this, I remember doing government in school, and I don't think I was taught as much, you know. Yes, a bit of history here and there, why Nigeria is called Nigeria, but we didn't really understand how our constitution came to be, how democracy came to be. So do you think that if all of this education is ingrained in the students from a young age, they can grow to become, you know, they don't even have to be activists just to know what's happening politically, and then we won't be having the conversation of whether or not they're too young to understand the concept of politics?
Okay, on the educational aspect of it, I think the whole school curriculum in Nigeria, let me use Nigeria as an example, but this topic is about Africa. But for Nigeria, we don't have enough knowledge being passed down from the grassroots, from the elementary to the secondary. There is no enough knowledge about politics. There's not enough knowledge about history. There's not enough knowledge about the whole voting structure, because they need to understand that, okay, it's not just about, they need to understand that whole, from the grassroots, that, okay, when you get to social age, this is how to know a good representative. This is how to choose a good representative. They need to know the history behind, but the school curriculum, the school, everything is not giving them enough information. Because when let me use myself as an example. I only did history as emergency course in secondary school. That was just in SS3. I could remember I was in Port Harcourt then, and it was just a complete, like they had to, that was when they were changing the whole school curriculum, and they only had added history. And it was just an emergency thing. I never had any formal knowledge of history before then. I'm talking about 2014. So I never had any formal knowledge of history before then. But in 2014, they were like changing the whole school curriculum and adding a lot of subjects to the WAEC and every other sector. I think there should be enough knowledge to be passed down from primary down to secondary level. That because 16 years old are actually graduating from secondary school right now. So they should have enough knowledge from primary to that level.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll come to the national youth leader, but let me come to this angle first, because I want to get the opinions of, the rest of us before we get to him. They've given very, important points, right? But let me start with you. Do you think that the problem is the age, the voting age? Do you think that if the age is lower to 16, it would give us better representation? The government will focus more on the youths. Do you think that that's a solution?
I don't think it's a problem of age. I think it's a problem of system and structures. I would use myself as an example. I learned, we all learned, or everybody in the room learned state and capital as way back as our basic schools. And then from there, we all knew, or I probably might not say everybody, but then we all know that when you look at the plate number of the car, you see the name of the state, and then you see the slogan of the state right underneath there. But then there are no structures to educate these young people directly there for them to be able to actively participate in political conversations or to join political things. And that's where the question of civic education, civic engagement comes in. It's so pathetic, if I want to use the word, that we all agree that it is said, according to the Constitution, that you have the right to vote at the age of 18 and the right to be voted for at the age of 21. And some of the individuals campaigning or championing the goal of not too young to run are in their mid-50s, 45. It's very rare that you would see somebody that is 32, 33 championing this conversation. And then we even have somebody that's 65 say that he is coming in as a young blood. I'm sorry if that might look like that, but then that's just the point. Then so at the age of 16, we already have a child that experienced 4 tenures of leadership, 4 years for different political offices, and in local government is 3 years. So I'm saying that at that age of 16, the child is already experiencing, if not the 6th local government leadership already in structure, while they are already also experiencing the fourth tenure of leadership. Are you telling me that that child does not already know or see the television and ask, Daddy, who is this? Mommy, who is this? And that's where indirect political conversation and engagement comes in. So it's not about, even if we lower it, the question is, do our country actually have what it takes to put us in that space? I totally agree with the fact that at age 16, I should be able to thumbprint to determine who is my leader, because we already have digital inclusion. We are all campaigning that, oh, our children should not be able to do this at this age. So there's digital inclusion already. And we can already come to the phase that you can educate a child with a digital space too by putting electoral conversations there. We have like the Freedom of Information Act already available there. These things, I did say, Lord, to educate children of our age, or children, or to educate these young adults about what is coming. Nepal was able to go through and say that they want to change their government, or they want the young ones to do this thing because they have experience and they have experience. We came out, a lot of young ones came out for NSAS, and till today, there's still questions about where are they. Where some people we don't know, and then what has happened to some of those things. There's the electoral acts there. There are a lot of acts that they have already been established, but then have they even been enforced to fit it? And then the question of, we have a demography whereby we have, it's like we have a pear shape. We have the higher adults, they are beginning to get smaller. We have the youth, which is now the body, which is now where the robust is, and we have the younger ones. So if we have that very fat shape, and down there in between, this is like, let me say it's the figure 8, right? If we have that beautiful figure 8 for Nigeria, and we are trying to build the workforce of the future, what about the political face of our country for the future?
Okay. All right, thank you for that. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because of our time, I want to also find out from you now. We've had countries, I mean, you gave an example of Nepal. We've also had countries like Austria, Brazil, and now the UK who have come to the conclusion that 16-year-olds are actually not too young to vote. What do you think is the difference between those countries and Africa? Some people would say that it's an attempt to stifle freedom, but is that really the case, or are we just not ready, based on our political construct, to allow younger people to vote because of the detriments, probably?
So from my own opinion and the knowledge I've gathered through political science and all of that, I would say the first major difference between Africa and other continents is the development. Let's leave colonial stories and history out of it. If we look at democracy in Nigeria and democracy in the US, it is on the hierarchy there, the space there is on the higher pitch. So basically, Nigeria is not, or should I say Africa has not been groomed to that extent to be able to, should I say, reduce the age. If you're saying reducing the age to 16, then you should be able to reduce it to 13. Let's just say we are starting from the teens then. Because now the age range to voting is surrounding 18. How many 18-year-old in Nigeria has their voter's card? Let's start there. And then you say, do you want to start participating in electoral activities? A 16-year-old is still probably collecting food allowance from their parents in Nigeria, as an example. And then they're looking at their WAEC, looking at their JAM and all of that. None of them have the basic knowledge. They only hear their parents say, oh, this government is not as good as that government and the other one. But they have not experienced it. I'm saying from my own perspective, at age 16, I would say I wasn't really inclined in the government, and that's where we talk about the structure, the educational structure. Although I watched news because my dad was a very much news lover, so as my mom, and coming from a political family, I knew what was happening, but not to the extent of putting me or getting me involved. And this is because at age 16, I would say the brain is still too small and the country is not as developed as it should to include such activity. Let's dive to the northern part of Nigeria, where they have the highest body of voters when it comes to general election in the country. You would see the kids, they are used as the tools to vote. Manipulation comes in. If you don't vote my parents' party, at age 16, you still have to listen to your parent. Whose house do you want to go to? My house? Right. But over there in the States, I would say in other countries, I would say they already have this structure. They have been building, over 100 years to 65. No, that gap is way, way high.
You bring a very interesting point, and I'm hoping that we can raise it with our virtual guest. But in the meantime, let me ask you. You know, we talk about, and I see your point. So that brings me to my next question of, if we say that we are voting a leader in for a better tomorrow, the young people are the ones who would enter into the better tomorrow. So is it not well within their rights to fight for a better tomorrow? If a 16-year-old is hearing, for example, that out there are no jobs, so there's that fear of, so I'll graduate and still not get jobs, or I'll graduate and be broke, you know, sakpa day outside and things like that. The people that feel the fear, the people that are in the reality of it are the older ones. But those that feel the fear the most are the younger ones. So does that play any part, you know, in all of this?
Yes, it definitely plays a part in it. You say 16 are too young to vote, but they are held responsible if they commit any criminal offenses. In criminal code, the age for criminal age, like the legal age for criminal offenses are 13 years old. Yeah, 13. So if a 13-year-old can be held responsible for his action, so that means he is aware, he is mentally aware. And again, we are talking about experience, how it affects them, their ideology about unemployment and all that. Indirectly, every 16-year-old pays tax. Either their allowance is paid into their bank account or so. The bank will deduct from them. And also, there are some 16-year-olds that are working now. So why would there be taxation without involvement from them? So they have every right to participate in the politics of the nation. So that's my take on that.
All right, interesting conversation. Samuel, let me come to you. What is your take on all of this?
Basically, thank you. I think I listened to what Madam Sarah said. And for me, it's a whole new idea generally. Where are we politically? What is the journey politically? What is our success story politically? It might interest you to know that vote rate in Nigeria has dropped in the last 5 general elections from 53% to 20-something%. We're talking about involving the younger age in the electoral system. The question is, what is the present situation of our electoral system? A democratic system has the identity of having a free and fair election. How many of our elections are credible? What is the percentage involvement of teenage, or let's even say youth involved in leadership? Let's take away votes now. Voting is another level of a constitutional right. Leadership is different entirely. Leadership is the ability to take responsibility and to be able to be trusted with certain duties of performance. You will agree with me that if we can hold anything accountable for the reduction in the percentage of voters from our previous elections, drop it by almost 25-30%, what it means is that the credibility of our elections are not trusted. If these are the major issues that we're talking about, we've not been able to handle this situation. We're talking about allowing the 16 to get involved. Where are we at the moment? We are not on any level politically to be comparing ourselves with developed countries and developed nations in the world. I have been very involved in what they call grassroots politics, and I can tell you that we still have a long way to go, because during election days and election practices, if you involve, there's a lot of inabilities that still need to be sorted. You get to polling unit at 12 noon, you still be told that the problem is much. INEC should focus more on rehabilitating our reforms to be able to deliver what they call credible elections. I'm so happy that there's a new change in the governorship of the INEC. Let's see what happens. Let's see what this administration does. But talking about the 16 years getting involved in politics, how many of them are already involved in leadership is the first question. Voting is a civic right that is granted by age at the age of 18. When the UK is thinking about involving 16 to vote, it is because they've exhausted their population resources at the level of their current age vote, which is 18. Many of their youth are involved. Many of the people are getting involved in politics. So there is room to say, okay, if we can coordinate 1,000 people on this level and there's a successful, credible election, then we can say, okay, then let's look at establishing a larger range of voters via the age route. But we are not there yet on any level to be talking about involving the 16-year-old on voting. We're not there yet, and we're far from it.
All right, thank you for that. Very quickly, let's go to Kennedy now. Kennedy, I'm sure that you've listened in on everyone's opinions, and I want to just quickly sample yours, especially considering the fact that some very pivotal points were raised. You know, the fact that we still have some issues on ground, and then again, the issue that I said we're going to circle back to, which is the issue of using basically vote buying. So imagine having 16-year-olds and then the vote buying challenge is still there. So sampling like she said, sampling what's happening in the north and then that cutting across all of the country, basically where you make these young people who, let's say they now start to vote and then you now start to coerce them into voting for you, either by paying them or by threatening them, because those issues are still on ground. So all of that, I want to get your opinion on it.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Blessing. I must confess that I'm impressed this afternoon listening to my younger ones there in the studio. And I am very proud that they are Nigerians. You know, when you say that Nigerian youths are not intelligent, I wish Nigerian leaders can be listening to what you are doing in this new Central Television this afternoon. It's a wonderful debate. And I must give kudos to your studio, your station, for engaging them this afternoon. To be fair, in all fairness, there's nothing wrong with somebody at age 16 voting. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing absolutely wrong with it. It's a perfect thing to do. In fact, one of them mentioned something that interests me. We have been in a country where systems and structures have failed. We don't even have data. How many are there that are age 16 in Nigeria? If you ask NIMSI cannot give you that data today. How many of them can the hospital say we give birth? This is the number of people that we are born today in Nigeria. We don't have data. The systems and the structure have failed. And again, to be specific, we are in a nation where there is a competition between the elderly ones and the younger ones. The elderly ones have consistently refused to hand over power to the younger ones. There is definitely lack in mentorship. Mentorship is lacking in Nigeria. I have a 7-year-old son who came back from school one day and told me, Daddy, I know Peter Obi. There is Tinubu. There is Atiku. At age 7, he came back the other time and said that they were voting on who will become their senior prefect in school. At age 7, they were already being introduced to how to elect a prefect in their school. And then, if you want the last election, most of the people that participated in the last election were all Nigerian youths. And they participated with the intention that their votes will count. So if you say 18 years should be brought to 16 years, there's nothing wrong with it. But the problem we have is a policy issue. It has to go through legislation. National Assembly will have to sit at it and agree. The State Assembly will have to sit at it and agree. But the most important thing is, do we have the system, functional system? Do we have the structure that can carry these people and allow them to vote? And also, our parents are not helping. We have a 16-year-old child that got admission in a university that the parents will drive to school and register her and do everything for her, get accommodation for her, do everything, all the process the parents will do for her, because we have parents that do not believe in the children they give birth to. If you look at those that become president in Nigeria during 1950s, we had a 29-year-old man that became president of Nigeria. But today, we have somebody that is over 70 years as president. Instead of us to be progressing progressively, we are progressing retrogressively. We are not empowering Nigerian youths. We are not encouraging them. We are not mentoring them. If it's about knowledge and capacity, Nigerian youths have them. Look at the people that you have there in the studio. They have made wonderful submissions, and all of them can be voted for. All of them in that studio can become a councillor of their ward. All of them can become a local government chairman and decide that we need to renovate a classroom in my community. We need to renovate a pipe bomb water in my community. All of them in that studio will be able to take that decision of building a pipe bomb water, or building a secondary school, or primary school, or healthcare in their various communities. All of them in that studio can do that.
All right.
But is the system allowing them to do it? No. I use myself as an example. I'm not even supposed to be at my age. I'm 41 as of 2 days ago, and marked my 41-year birthday. I'm not even supposed to be the national leader of Labour Party. But the former national leader, if I may shock you, was 55. And I now came to become national leader at age 37. Okay? So if we have that encourages the younger ones to participate, to be involved, our system is disenfranchising the younger ones. A 16-year-old is under the control of the parents. Yes, somebody said it there, that the father, the mother will say, you must vote this person. If you don't vote this person, don't come to my house. But in the UK, at age 18, you are entitled to house loan. You can live alone. You can decide to leave your parents and go and live on your own. And nobody will molest you. They know that you are entitled to your own decision. You can say, I can have a boyfriend. I can decide not to have a boyfriend. But in Nigeria, a 22-year-old man cannot even drive his parents to church or to mosque because they don't believe that he's grown enough.
Okay, Kennedy, thank you so much. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because we barely have 5 minutes left, so I want to quickly get reactions from the studio, and then probably we'll come back to you to just give your final thought on this. So because of our time, we won't be able to go round, but if you have any contributions, please just signify by a raise of hand, and then we'll get to you. Okay. All right. Okay, let's take from here because let her go first. Very quickly, please, short responses.
From everything that everyone has said, I just hope we can just agree that there is always a two side to every coin. If you're saying 16 is too young, then can we also agree that even the 18 and above, they also make political mistakes? So can we just allow, if you are saying the younger ones are the leaders of tomorrow, can we then bring them into the track of leading them to tomorrow? So I think 16 is not.
All right. Anyone else from here? Okay.
Okay. The next one I want to talk about is that if we should reduce the age to 16, I do not support the motion because there is already a lot. These are political leaders currently who will not actually leave power for the younger ones. They will still exploit this opportunity if it's being reduced. They've not reduced the age already. In the northern part of Nigeria, there's a lot going on. Now, in North, there are 14 years old voting with the age of 18. If you now officially reduce it to 16, there will be 8 years old voting.
Okay.
There will be lesser age voting.
All right. Okay, thank you.
So what I want to say is that if we keep saying that, we cannot compare ourselves to UK, we cannot compare ourselves to those developed countries, then we won't move an inch. So let's do something. We can't use all this exploitation as an excuse. Rather, let's make preparation meet this thing that we want to implement so it can be a successful one.
All right.
I feel that despite the fact that our country doesn't have the system in place to guide the 16-year-olds to vote, I feel that we should go back. For those that are currently 16, for those that are 13 and 14, things should be put in place to prepare their mind for anything that has to do with leadership and voting. Because right now, most curriculum don't have it. Most curriculum don't support it. And many of them don't even have the insight on what it means to actually be in a leadership position.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
Yes. So we've been talking about youth, but do we really know the age where youth starts? If you check on Google, you see 15, you see 16. And then we keep saying, national youth movement, youth government, this, that. And then this age are not allowed. So let's go back, for example, now the curriculum aspect. Imagine being in SS2 and your civic education curriculum, you have things like how to cross a road, how to drive. That's not what we are here for. When I was in secondary school, I did a bit of government, but I'll tell you that I didn't understand very well. And then when I got to the university, I was, allowed to study political science. I went for it. I gained more knowledge. And I can bet with you that I have political, knowledge more than a science student. If you ask them about some certain thing, they'll be like, well, people don't like him, I'm not voting for him. Well, he has done this. My mommy said this from an adult. So it's not about the age now. It's about, the knowledge that the person have.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also agree with what all of them have said, and I think that there should be measures for proper education and orientation. I think we should emphasize more on that because a lot of them don't have this. Personally, I gained knowledge about government when I got to university, when I started studying sociology. That was where I gained my knowledge.
Okay.
So
All right. Thank you so much. Okay. So since we're already going around, we can wait as well. Okay. Let's just go the same way, but very quickly, please.
We don't always have to wait for perfection until we start. If you continue to wait for a perfect time, there would never be a perfect time. When the universal adult suffrage thing happened, when the women started requesting to be able to vote, to get into power, they started out even when it was just one or two of them. We have a number of women in power right now. We are still asking for more women in power. We don't have it correctly yet. I feel like if we don't start with what we have, we would never get to where we want to be.
All right, thank you.
Okay, well, in as much as I agree with you, I'll still say if there's a heap of dirt and you cover it up with a tile or a rug, it's going to lead to a bump. So where do we have to clean up those dirt first before, progressing into these actions.
So you're saying go back to grassroots?
Yes, 16, to me, is not visible. It's not even Japan that has a very good democratic structure. 18. So the thing behind those ages is something. Like in Africa as a whole, it is something. So let's just leave Nigeria and let's picture Africa in general. The age bracket of 16 is not visible. Let's not lie to ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
So I would say the youth should be involved in politics. When you go on LinkedIn, you see younger people, younger mind, fresh blood, they are out there. Then you go to tech, they are there. They are more informed. It's not about age. Even a 16 years old, an 18 years old, 18 years old doesn't know what he has come to life to do because he's confused. Well, whereas you see 13 years old, 12 years old in tech, on LinkedIn posting, and you be like, wait, this person, I'm older than this person. And again, I feel we need to change, and Nigeria needs to change in the sense that all this ideology, it starts from the grassroots. How do our parents talk to us? Sometimes, like our online contributor said, some parents don't believe in their children, which has birthed insecurity, low self-esteem, and all that. So I feel we need to start from the grassroots. The parents need to purge their mind of African mentality and start to do things in a different way. The world is evolving, and so we should move along with it, not stay behind. So that's all.
Okay.
I beg to still share on the opinion that we have a long way to go.
I bet with you.
I beg to still share that we have a long way to go in the sense that if you look at the statistics again, like our online leader of the Labour Party, youth leader said, there is nothing wrong for a 16-year-old to be involved in the electoral process. But the question is simple. Do we have the resources? Do we have the system, the structure to manage these people? It is not enough to wish to want to. It is not a well-planned idea to embark on a journey that you don't have a structure that can suck it in and make it successful. You end up just creating more problems, and the reforms will just be from one place to another. 16-year-olds is not too young to vote. The point is we are not there yet as a nation.
All right, thank you so much. Very quickly, let's get the opinion from Kennedy. Kennedy, please, if you can limit whatever it is to 30 seconds, we would appreciate. Please, let's hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you. In 30 seconds, what I feel Nigeria should concentrate now is in mentorship. We should introduce civic education in our secondary school, history and civic education in our secondary school, do more of advocate, political education in our secondary school, so that we'll be able to introduce this young one to leadership processes and protocols, and be able to introduce them to what election is all about and what their civic rights. I think that is where I will leave it. But for now, it's a legislative issue, I don't think we'll get there now. Let's not make it a serious subject of conversation, but I think we'll soon get there in Nigeria. But for now, our parents have to subpedal by introducing us into leadership through credible mentorship. They should begin to reduce their age of, maybe look at 70 should no longer contest for any position in Nigeria, so that it will open the window for people at 20, 25, 30, 40 to emerge as governors, ministers, commissioners, president, even at that.
All right.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, thank you so much. This is a perfect way to draw the curtain, and I want to say a big thank you to my amazing guests in the studio. Please put your hands together for yourselves. You guys have been amazing. It's been a very wonderful conversation, and I hope that you know that beyond the debate of whether or not we agree that 16-year-olds should or should not vote, it's more about the systems, like he rightly said, the systems and the structure. Whether or not 16-year-olds are allowed to vote, is the system enabling of it yet? We have a new, just confirmed INEC chairman. Is the system going to allow the elections to still be free and fair, or are we still going to lament that the elections, the results do not exactly, relate the exact voting that we did? This is a conversation that we do not end to stop now. So News Central will be bringing more editions of these kind of conversations to you. But beyond all of this, beyond all the conversations that we've had here today, we want you to be more politically aware, because it's not about 16-year-olds. Some 24-year-olds still don't know what's happening in Nigeria. And the most important thing is that you are aware of your constitution, you're aware of democracy, and you're aware of the possible solutions to move Nigeria forward. Thank you so much for joining us.